My CV. David L. James, PhD. Summary. A results-oriented problem solver with a passion for science and quantum physics, with demonstrated results in fusion combustion findings. Education, the London School of Economics, 1986, master's degree in engineering, Stanford University, graduated in 1988. PhD in propulsion sciences from MIT, 1991. Employment history, propulsion engineer, Caltech, 1992 to 2012. Director of Propulsion Engineering Department, Boeing Company, 2012 to present. Please consider me for employment opportunities at your company. So, would any of you hire me? No one would hire anyone like that. But the truth is, you're all like that. Each and every one of you who's ever sent out a resume out for consideration is, in fact, exactly like that. You just didn't know it. Every single one of you who have ever sent a resume anywhere in the world are, in fact, that boring, that unnoticeable. What did I do at Caltech? Where was my most significant accomplishments? Did you notice that I graduated, top of my class, and was given an internship at NASA to work on the space shuttle? It's all right there, but you didn't read it. And even if you did read it, you didn't care. And the people who you send your resume to, they don't care either. They can't. There's too many of you, and there's too little time. Or said it another way, there's too little of those that need to care. By the way, everything about that resume on that screen is a total fabrication. Well, almost everything. My name is, in fact, David James, but everything else is made up. I'm actually an executive recruiter, and I have been my entire life. And this highly inaccurate resume was constructed to show you fine people to make a point. I call it constructing. The FBI calls it lying. I'm not a rocket scientist. I do not have a PhD. I've never been to England, let alone the School of Economics in London. All I know about Stanford is that Tiger Woods went there, and their school colors are red and black, and I believe they call themselves the Cardinals. But it really doesn't matter, because that resume, if it was mine or yours, and if it were true, and there was a real person behind this resume, that person would be, in the eyes of any hiring authority, an absolute star. And it would be almost meaningless, because the truth of the matter is, this resume, this beautiful resume, reads like this. Now, you might be asking, why is that? If I was a rocket scientist with that resume, would you think that that resume would get anybody an interview? And you'd be right. However, that's because that resume, that fantastic resume, will most likely never be read, or not read by the right person, which is why resumes are, for the most part, a really poor way of showcasing anybody's talents. But that's the way it's done. Why? Because it's the way it's always been done. Not because it's effective, or an effective method of showcasing one's talents. Why? Because it's the way that it's always been done. Before computers and online connectivity and mobile apps, all the jobs were posted in the newspaper. That's right, from trees. And the ads always said, please address all the resume and cover letter to the Human Resources Department. And in any Human Resources Department, that job of sorting resumes always would go to an intern or a newly hired graduate. Not sometimes, always. And what would happen is the HR manager would say to the clerk, can you go through these 100 resumes and find the best 5 time and motion engineers and send them to Pete Dawson? He's the head of propulsion. He's the hiring authority. And the new intern, with doughy eyes would go, like this one, I guess, this one, and this one. You know where the other 95 would go? Trash. So Pete Dawson, he gets these 5 resumes, random from the clerk, and he says frustrated, these aren't even close. That's a lot of talent. It's a lot of effort, times 100 people, just to get thrown into the trash. Any one of you who has ever written a resume and a cover letter knows how much time and effort and emotion goes into the resume and cover letter when you really need it to speak for you when you're looking for a job. Then a guy like me calls Pete Dawson with a resume like this. I mean, if it was real. Pete, you don't know me, but I'm a recruiter who just recruited a time and motion engineer with 12 years of progressive experience, and he's working for one of your competitors, and he's on the market now. And Pete salivates, and he exclaims, yes, when can I see him, right? Proving once again that the sent resume really says nothing on your behalf, unless you can compel someone to read it. And that someone has to have the power to care. You see, Pete has someone, me, painting a picture of the candidate without him even seeing the resume, right? On behalf of the candidate and Pete, the hiring manager, I am the differentiator, right? Without the decision maker seeing the resume, I'm making the candidate's resume, their profile, come to life. No resume, just, when can I see him, David? He'll be there tomorrow afternoon, Pete. That's why recruiters, like me, are part of a multi-billion-dollar industry, because we bring resumes to life. We're an advocacy for the person we represent. We differentiate on the candidate's behalf. But for the job hunter, who only knows one way to get a job is to send a resume, your fate is relegated to the luck of the draw. Your fate, more often than not, is to remain anonymous. Ain't that a shame? A lottery more like it. I mean, if the young clerk selects you, congratulations. You get sent to the hiring manager. It's like using hope as a tactic. Right? I mean, you got a better chance of getting on the game show, what is it? The Price is Right, right? So back in 1991, when I was a young entrepreneur, I'd opened my own recruiting firm. And I was speaking to the human resources director at some company. His name was Scott. I remember that. And I'm on the telephone, and I remember him telling me the following. I'll never forget this as long as I live. David, in about 2 more years, recruiters like you are going to be obsolete. Puzzled, I said, why do you say that, Scott? He says, because of the electronic data interchange, of course. The electronic data interchange, of course? What's that? The EDI is a series of worldwide computers that talk to one another. It's going to make recruiters like you absolutely redundant. You better start thinking about a new career. I think he was talking about the internet. Well, of course, I figured out several years later that Scott was talking about the internet. He was right about one thing. The electronic data interchange, it changed everything. But he was dead wrong about us recruiters being obsolete, because the internet actually made the job hiring process even more confusing and even more ineffective. And instead of getting 100 resumes per advertisement, that's right, you got it. You get 400 resumes per advertisement. Shall we do it again? Take our 5, 400, 395. Sent to Pete. Are you getting the picture? Do you see how unlikely getting an interview based on your resume submission, having your resume speak for you, actually is? Then this came. LinkedIn totally changed the universe of job seeking and job getting and candidate finding. Recruiters went from cold calling candidates on the phone to sending them in-mail messages on the LinkedIn platform. Job seekers started relying on their LinkedIn profile as their, what do you call it, virtual resume? Hiring authorities relied solely on an ad posted on LinkedIn as their only attraction for new candidates. 89% of job seekers use LinkedIn solely as their sole means of searching. 83% of hiring authorities use LinkedIn solely as their sole means of filling positions within their entity. So, do you have any idea who's going through those 1,150 resumes? That's right. Same person as before. But let's assume for a minute that the actual hiring authority is getting the LinkedIn submissions directly to their own inbox. All submissions for the specific purpose of this search, no pre-filtering, no HR internal recruiter. Do you know how much time it takes to thoroughly review 1,150 resumes? I mean, not scan, but the actual perusal. As a professional recruiter, I will tell you the average perusal time for LinkedIn per profile view is 5 minutes and 43 seconds. That's about 10 resumes per hour. That means it will take that hiring authority 115 hours, or approximately 3 weeks, 8 to 5, working Monday through Friday, looking for your resume or a profile. Searching for a needle in a stack of needles. How do you like your chances now? Let me tell you a story about a man named David Hampton. In early 2013, I was making recruiters from scratch for a large recruiting firm. I'd run an ad in LinkedIn, of course. And I took it a step further. I said, do not click the button. Send me a resume and a cover letter and articulate these 3 succinct points about yourself. That cover letter and attach a resume. Just in case they forgot, I need the resume too, right? But if they did not follow my directions exactly that way, I would not consider them a viable candidate. Straight to the trash. And I was looking for raw talent, people who could follow direction, people willing to take the time. David Hampton was exactly that. David Hampton did exactly that. He followed the directions perfectly. I saw his resume, I read the cover letter, and I was impressed. So impressed that I immediately hit the delete button and threw his resume away forever. He was dismissed. Why? No clue. My mind just went blank. 10 seconds later, I began what would begin the rest of my life. Then 15 minutes later, my phone rings. Restricted number. I'm a recruiter. I like talking on the telephone. I pick it up. David James, I say with pride. This is David Hampton. I sent you my resume. Yeah, I just reviewed it. Can you call me back at 3 o'clock Pacific time? Which was code for we're never speaking again. Well, he says, it's midnight here in Afghanistan, and I'm calling you from a satellite phone. I stopped it right there. I said, dude, you've got the interview. When will you be back home? We interviewed in person, and when he came home, I offered him the job. Now, I was hiring recruiters, and David Hampton did what others never do, right? He made himself a differentiator. He resurrected his candidacy from death to life. He usurped an opportunity to speak to the hiring authority and showed me something his resume and his LinkedIn profile did not, could not. He brought his candidacy to life. The story about David Hampton made me think. He had a perfect resume. He followed the directions to a T, yet I still DQ'd him. Why? Because all the profiles and the resumes I was receiving, they started all like mesh together and blur together in my head. And nothing differentiated them. They were faceless pieces of paper that lacked humanity and depth. And I'm a recruiter, the best of the best resume readers. I don't know why, but I will tell you, if it could happen to Hampton by a professional who reads resumes for a living, right? It can happen or has happened to you. And it made me think some more. What if there was a way to bring this to this?
Hi, David James. My name is David Hampton. I have a feeling you tossed my resume in the trash, and that's cool, but I wanted to let you know that I'm an American currently serving in Afghanistan, and I've decided that I'm going to be a recruiter when I get home, and I commit to you, if you hire me, I will be the best recruiter you've ever hired. Now, if you still don't hire me, I'm going to call you every single day until I get home from Afghanistan. So please, pull my resume out of the trash and call me. It's midnight here, and I'm still awake, awaiting your call.
And he did. So as you can see, had David Hampton had Bit About Me, or BAM as we like to call it, instead of differentiating his candidacy by calling me on a military sat phone from Kandahar, Afghanistan, he could have accomplished the same result by augmenting his candidacy with 30 seconds of self-curated video of himself. If you put the word recruiter in the people search in LinkedIn, you get 1,870,000. That's right, just shy of 2 million with that word, recruiter. Do I need to tell you how long it would take a hiring authority to view all of those? Well, it would take just a little bit under 80 years. I mean, assuming that you took weekends off. So we created an app. And like I said, it's called Bit About Me, or BAM for short. Bit About Me brings humanity to the job search process while differentiating candidates and bringing life to a candidate's profile. Did you know that the worst thing that a company has to do, the absolute worst task, is firing an employee? Do you know what the second worst thing and the most encumbering task is? You know, right, it's hiring. So for a hiring authority, instead of seeing this, you see this. You can see that it has 334 videos attached to the LinkedIn profile. Now, hiring authorities are going to solely view the profiles and resumes that have a 30-second video attached. And by the way, the video, it's 30 seconds max. We have subordinate culture, same way Twitter did with its original 140 characters. Everybody knew. Everybody knew. No more than 140 characters. Jack from Twitter said, from the jump, this is how the Twitter culture on their platform was going to be. Same thing with Bit About Me. Everyone knows you have 30 seconds to be succinct. And the hiring authorities or recruiters, you know, they will never have to spend more than 30 seconds. They know this. More time? Non-negotiable. People have said to me, yeah, but you can already put video on LinkedIn. Yes, but there's no uniformity to it. And nobody is viewing video on LinkedIn as a hiring culture. BAM makes everybody's profile come to life the way David Hampton did. The way that he did that day when he called me from Kandahar. BAM differentiates profiles. And this can happen for you too. Here's what you do. You take your mobile device and you go to wherever it is you actually download apps. Right? And you download the app. Now there's this teleprompter feature, right, that will help you write or even time your video because, you know, some people get nervous about making a video of themselves, you know, at first. But me, I do stunts without a net, so I'm just going to go a cappella. Okay, here it goes. Hi, everybody. Thanks for giving me your undivided attention for the last 15 minutes. But helping people get their daily bread or hired to work has always been my life's work. And it was important for me to bring a solution to the world that would take LinkedIn profiles and resumes from anonymous to prominent. And that solution is Bit About Me. Bring some BAM to your profile and bring your profile to life. And what you do is you hit send, right here, upload, post. Hi, everybody. Thanks for giving me your undivided attention for the last 15 minutes. But helping people get their daily bread or hired to work has always been my life's work. And it was important for me to bring a solution to the world that would take LinkedIn profiles and resumes from anonymous to prominent. And that solution is Bit About Me. Bring some BAM to your profile and bring your profile to life. Thank you, everyone, from the bottom of my heart for allowing me to participate in making the world a better place than I found it.